Hi there, and welcome to the Jane Anderson Show. I am so thrilled that you are here. We are talking all things women in consulting, so women with influence, and that's working with women who are speakers, trainers, coaches, consultants, executive coaches, thought leaders, but particularly working in the business to business space. So, a lot of the people that are in our community are leadership experts, mindset experts, cultural transformation, you name it, whatever those capabilities are for working with organisations, this is probably where you'll find us. So I typically work with women all over Australia, and I'm thrilled to be able to share with you one of our very special guests today, and someone who's in our Women with Influence community. She is a sales and marketing expert, and she specifically works with business owners, quite a lot of consulting firms, and it's that small to sort of medium business type space, and really helping them to navigate through the overwhelm and fear sometimes and confusion that can come with being able to get both marketing and sales right and getting those two to come together. She's worked with brands like BHP, KPMG, Caterpillar, and really helping them to be able to work out what their sales and marketing strategies are, being able to get their team working well if it's a marketing and sales team, and particularly working in the internal and external comms. She does lots of coaching, strategy development, VIP days, training, all those sorts of things. And her clients really shift from being a bit lost and confused and overwhelmed to really feeling excited and feeling like they've got a plan and a pathway ahead. So our very special guest today is Melissa Lithgow. Yay! Hi, Mel. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I'm so thrilled you're here. I know you are super busy, so thanks for being part of the podcast.
Hey, Jane, it's a pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Mel, you have such an interesting background and what's led you to having your consulting practice today. Are you happy to share a little bit about your journey and how you got to a point of having mellithgow.com?
Yeah, I think it's quite similar to a lot of professional women out there. So I was obviously in corporate for almost 25 years. I was concentrated in mining and finance industries predominantly. Loved what I did. High sort of pressure, high reward. Always on the go, always learning things. So no 2 days were the same, and that's what I absolutely loved about it.
Mm-hmm.
But with that is also the wheel of life is a little bit broken, and it takes you a little while to get to that stage of actually realizing that something's got to give. So for me, that happened when I ended up in ICU for 10 days. Obviously something was wrong, and I had to do a bit of soul searching and reassess, what it was that I wanted out of life. I have 3 boys, and they were quite young at that stage still. So, I had it all. I had the young family, I had a great job, I traveled, I had a great paycheck at the end of the month. I even got up at 5 a.m. every day to go to the gym, but somehow it wasn't sustainable, and my body told me that. And I sort of had to reassess, and I think when you're in that stage, you sort of go from extreme to extreme.
Yes.
So I went the other way, going, okay, I'll just be a stay-at-home mum, and that lasted about 2 months. And my boys, can you stop managing us?
All right. When's that going back to work? Dad.
Yeah, exactly. They were ready. And I thought, okay, well, I'll start a little online clothing boutique, because that'll sort of lean into keeping me busy, and it's something I enjoy, and learning a new technology, seeing where the marketing, would take me.
Okay.
And that sort of grew into a bricks and mortar store. Again, went completely the wrong way in taking on too much too quickly.
Right.
And again, fell into the illness trap where my body said no more. So I don't know how many times I have to learn this lesson, but apparently 3 is a charm for me, because I really stepped back then and said, okay, let me reassess what I need to do. What is it that actually lights me up? about everything. And I literally just made pros and cons lists, and things that I wanted in my life and things that I didn't, and feelings I wanted and situations I wanted or didn't want. And I decided to go the consulting route. So my experience is quite varied in terms of project management, change management, general business management, and then of course marketing. But everything was always related to people,
Right.
and that's what I enjoyed the most out of each of those things.
Yeah.
And people are always the key to doing a good job in each of those areas, because systems are great, but if people are not on board, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And if people aren't motivated or just have the right messaging or just know what they're working towards, everyone's trying to do the right thing, but what is
Yeah.
that thing? So trying to get them to pull into the same direction was usually key in getting projects off the ground or even just successfully completing them. The change management aspect was just getting them to know why they're doing things. No one wants to, no one wants to just go to work and be told what to do 8 hours a day and go home. They want an impact. They want to be part of something.
Yes.
So it's telling that story and then getting, what's in it for them, basically.
Yes.
So I decided to do the go the consulting route for marketing. And because of my knowledge in other areas, I did get lost in delivering multiple things for multiple people.
Right.
And I then became an employee for people in their
Yes.
business, where you try and fix it all. And just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. It's true.
And again, my time was just being, I was burning myself out um, for people, and they weren't really learning to actually have me exit the company. So the minute I exit, then it fell apart again.
Okay.
So again, I did it's constantly reassessing this. It's never stopped. So I just reassessed again and said, okay, what is it that I need? So I worked with a couple of coaches who were great for the stage that I needed them at. And I was stalking you for probably about 4 years before I actually had my discovery call with you. And the minute we had that call, there was just instant clarity for me
Right.
in terms of what I was doing, how I was going to do it. And then it was just doing the hard work and rolling it out.
Right.
And it was like a weight was lifted. Everything grew from there. My confidence grew because my messaging was on point. I knew exactly what I was delivering. I was so much more focused, and I was also empowered enough to say no to things that I shouldn't be doing.
Right.
So yeah, it was just phenomenal. And then of course, just being exposed to the people in the community and the types of people you have in there I just sit there most days in awe, and it's such a great learning curve for me. And I'm just grateful for it. So yeah, that's been my journey up to now. So now the focus is around actually.
So can I just quickly jump in? So for those who are listening and going, what's this thing that she's talking about, this community and the ladies? So a quick little plug is we have a program called Women with Influence, which Mel is a member of. We've been running the program since 2017, and so now we particularly focus on women who have consulting practices and who are selling B2B. So that leads us now to the type of practice that you have. So tell us, so now that you've got the clarity on your message, you've got a little more confidence in what you're saying around with your positioning and your offers and things like that. So who do you work with mostly now?
So I mostly service SMEs, but
Yes.
on the larger side of SME. It's usually people who want more out of, they want to see more return out of their marketing efforts.
Yes.
They're not scared to try new things.
Yep.
They're not scared to get their hands dirty too. My focus is to empower them and their teams to do, to achieve. And my focus is eventually to exit the business and have a running team and processes and systems and strategy that they can work towards.
Right.
And then, of course, you go in when it's needed and when readjustments needed and support. But I just don't feel it's ethical for me to go and take something and implement it and know that it's going to fail the minute I walk out the door.
Right.
which is why I have a very clear line, a requirement of people actually wanting to do the work who work with me.
Right.
Yeah.
So you come in as kind of like advisory type capacity, like here's the
Mm.
resources you need based on the goals that you're trying to achieve. You need 3 people, or you need someone to do social media, you need someone, or you need to be having a newsletter go out. So you'll do the strategy and sort of look at, well, what are the metrics you're chasing? Here's the marketing strategy that would
Mm.
go with that. Here are the resources you need. I can come in and train them,
Mm.
get them going, make sure everyone's on the same page. And then over time, they become more empowered to be able to build that capacity
Yeah,
themselves. You're sort of guiding the ship along the way. And then so you also do coaching, and you speak at events
I
and
do.
sorts of things as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's all. You always say it so much better. It's all about the human connection. So it's for me, it's again, it's changing the way that businesses think about their marketing
Yeah.
and focusing on their customers and actually really knowing what their customers want,
Right.
um, and what it is that they need, because it affects everything in their business.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's even just having the conversation with these business owners and saying, what is it that you want?
Yeah.
That exactly that conversation we had. When you're in the bottle, you can't read the label,
Yeah.
and we get it because we have it every day. You
Yes.
become blind to your own business, and
Yes.
that is the biggest benefit I see from even just working, like I said, with the community. It's just someone outside of your business who has your interests at heart, and that can just be a bit of a sanity check for you. Yeah, so that's exactly what I am for them. And then the tools are just tools. It's
Yeah.
just having those conversations and asking those questions and getting them to actually think about what they want and
Yes.
structuring that way, because we've always done something this way doesn't mean we always should. Um,
And because you started your practice, what year was this that you started?
2019.
2019, you
Yeah, yeah,
started on your own. Yep.
yeah.
And so, you're still in those early growth stages of your practice.
Mm.
Um, there's a lot of people who perhaps be listening, either thinking about making that jump into their own practice, or perhaps in, their first or second year. We talk to lots of people who are particularly in that first and second year. What have been the biggest lessons you've learnt so far in growing your practice?
to it's the overthinking for me, and
Okay.
yeah, just do it. Just think it through. Obviously, think it through. Like you've got a great system to get us really clear on what we need to do and why we want to do it, and then just test it, put it out there, go for it and test it. I only started really late, so
Mm,
my whole journey only started at 39. So I just sometimes think about how much I've missed and all the opportunities I've missed because I was always trying to push myself into, square peg in a round hole. If
yep.
you've got that in you and you've got that feeling of there's something more in me, or I feel like there's something more, I should be doing something more, do it. Like there's nothing to fear about it, because number one, you learn so much. So although even if you do, what's the worst that can happen? You go back into corporate, you've got all these
That's
transferable
right.
skills and all these amazing relationships again. So
Yes.
there's literally nothing stopping you. It's the overthinking and fear of judgment and fear of failure.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's the last thing we should be scared of,
Right.
because I would rather do it than have the regrets of I should have done this. And trust me, you do have those.
And what sort of things were you overthinking, Mel? Was it, um, type of clients? Was it programs? Was it, like what was some of the things that you found you were overthinking?
I think it was more in terms of just getting out of, because I've always worked corporate and very much the big four usually. There was safety in that logo or that brand that you worked for. So um, I could almost hide behind it because I
Mm,
had the brand had the runs on the board. It's not me. It's not my expertise.
right.
It it's KPMG or it's FMG or it's BHP. It's um, the fear of putting yourself out there and what you know and what you think. And again, because we forget how much, and we actually don't know how much we do know, we forget that not everyone's at that level. And obviously, there's a bucket load of people who will know more, but there's a level. There's always someone you can serve at each level, and it's
Yes.
getting them to that next one the quickest. And it's same with your coaching. If like I said, I've had a couple of coaches, and they were great for the level that I was on, but you need to keep going, keep upskilling, keep
Yes.
improving. And it was just the overthinking and thinking, what value really could I give? And then just getting comfortable with it.
So sometimes a bit of the imposter, it sounds like,
Oh,
Mel.
absolutely.
Am I actually any good at this? Am I as good as what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm sort of giving myself a big rap here, but can
Yeah,
I actually
absolutely. And then
what
it's
I'm
also,
saying?
with what's my performance appraisal going to say? It's like your way of valuing yourself and your contribution, it has to change. Um,
Yes.
and you have to just become comfortable with uncomfortable. Because
Yeah, that's so
you
true.
you're building the ship as you sail, and it's yeah.
That's a
And
lot safer
sometimes
than building a plane while jumping off the cliff. I like that.
that's it. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like I'm back to a little raft, but it's okay because you know we'll just build the ship again. And this time I've got 10 different people on my little raft with me building together. So um, it's just becoming and being okay with having those conversations that I can actually now say that I'm a strategic marketing expert and
Yeah.
own it because I am. And it's okay. And it doesn't mean that I'm full of myself or
No.
I have to position myself so people can trust me and that I can
Yes.
actually give them the value that they need.
Yeah.
And it's the same with pricing. I had a huge issue with pricing according to the value that I gave.
Yeah.
I was constantly underpricing and just
Yes.
over delivering hugely.
Right.
Again, led to me not, I got sick again. So
Yeah.
then I don't have any value to anyone,
Yes.
especially not my family.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah, and it's not just me.
Yes.
These are probably the biggest things I hear constantly from women who do this and women
Yes.
who are not even just starting out. We constantly have these, moving on to a next level or
Yes.
taking on a new service. You're like, oh my gosh, this is new again. Um,
Yes.
I feel like a first grader again. What am I doing?
Yeah. I love that, Mel. I admire you so much because you are one of the toughest people I know in terms of your mindset and resilience and grit and how you just bloody keep on going. You put one foot in front of the other, and I'm always in awe of you that you just show up and you go, right, I'm bloody doing this, and you just do it. Despite you might be out of your comfort zone and you just go, and that you trust me. You go, all right, well, Jane's telling me to do it. So,
Yep.
all
Do
right.
what Jane says.
So I always really admire that about you. And you've been through a lot with your health. You've moved countries. Like it's a very big thing to move
Mm.
countries. You've got so much resilience and strength. Because it's hard, like this sort of work, it all looks lovely. It all looks like,
Yeah.
oh, imagine being able to just get up when you want to get up. Imagine being able to just, work in your pajamas and, do whatever you want. But with this
Yeah.
freedom comes responsibility. But, the grit and determination that it takes. I read a quote yesterday that I really loved. It said, uh, um, purpose creates, what did it say? You don't have discipline without purpose, and you
Yeah.
are so purpose driven, which is what keeps you, sort of
Oh,
showing up all the time. So I really admire that about you.
thanks,
What have
Jane.
that, because this is, you talked about being comfortable with discomfort and, because you're doing a lot of things sometimes you've never done before.
Mm.
Um, and pricing is a big one because for us as women, we often undervalue who we
Mm.
are. And that's been a recurring theme that you've had, and the lesson that sometimes you've either learnt or continue to learn as
Yep.
you grow is that actually I have to I've got to manage how much I'm giving for, for
Yeah.
what I'm charging. So I've got to work out and value myself, value the efforts that I bring, identify what is the value for the client and the outcome, and
Mm.
make sure I've got all that balance right. That's a big learning, I think, for a lot of women who go into this consulting space and go, because otherwise you're flying blind, because you come out
Yeah.
of corporate and they go, oh, well, they get consultants in and they charge $1,000 a day. We go, yeah, but when you're a thought leader and you're positioning yourself as an expert in your field, we're not consulting as in we're going in and doing a 12-month contract
No.
as an employee, like you said, is that actually, no, this is a different type of positioning. This
Yeah.
is thought leader positioning, where you're going, well, I'm actually one of the best in the world at what I do. I'm not necessarily. So there's a real accelerator clutch to go, well, hang on, I've still got to manage cash flow, and I've got to be able to make sure I've got cash flow and things coming in. Plus, I'm over here trying to get my programs up and trying to do the thought leadership. And I mean, you came to our content creation bootcamp and smashed out a year's worth of content and
Yeah.
leadership in 3 days. That takes a lot of grit and thinking to do that. So, I guess what my question is how do you have the level of grit that you have?
I think it's dumb luck, Jane.
I think it's what?
I just think it's dumb. I've never even thought of it that way, to be honest. You just have to do what you have to do. I
Right.
think it's the way, and again, we're immigrants. Obviously I'm South African.
Yeah.
Things, our way of growing up was very different. So there was, and again, constant change, constant difficulties, but you didn't see it as difficulties. It was just getting through the day. You just
Right.
do these things, and that's what you got to do. And it's just that, if you want to achieve, you have to work for it.
Right.
You're not entitled to anything. It's not a given. It's not, the government's not going to look after me.
Yeah.
If I want a certain life, I'm going to have to work for it. And it also, I think, I couldn't study. Mum was divorced, and she couldn't afford studying. So you have to do it yourself. So
Yeah.
you do that, and you get your study in after, once you got married, and it's just not easy. And I think because it never was just easy for me, that's my norm. So
Yes.
you just have to just put one foot in front of the other and just keep going, and it does pay off. And
Yes.
then some days I have to be reminded, because I do the same thing over and over, and I'm just like, thanks, Jane. Especially when it comes to like the pricing, and we have a call, and we'll decide on a price, and then I go sit down and I do my the workings around it, and I go back to the initial price, and then I'm like, what are you doing? But you just sort of, I don't know, Jane. I don't know. It's a difficult question for me to answer, because I don't see it as anything different. I think everyone has issues and everyone has difficulties, and we all just show up in a way we can. I think the thing for me is I never had a safety net.
Right.
So if I wanted a safety net, I had to be that safety net.
Right.
And my safety net was to work my butt off.
Yeah.
And I wanted more.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to say that. I
Yes.
wanted more than what I was, than I was exposed to.
Yes.
And that's okay. I'm
Yeah.
actually now okay with saying that, and if people may see me differently for that, but it's all right.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Well, it's a big reason why to get the right people around you, isn't it? Is that
yeah,
the people who understand why you're doing that. Because I know my family, I love my family, I adore them, but they're all, they're all government workers. They're, so
yeah,
I'm like the black sheep. So, I go, why would you do this to yourself? What, like, don't you want holidays? Don't you want leave? Do you want,
yeah.
I get those things, but I have them in a different version of how you have them. So,
I think it's just a different drive that we have inside us. And I had all that, right? And it's funny, because I've actually flipped. When I started working, the safety net was those brands.
right.
right? So that's how I could study. That's
That
how
was
I could pay my rent. That's how I could look after my family. That's
yes,
how I would retire with actually money in the bank. Uh,
yes,
but when I got so sick, I was like, that's the realization going, this is so fickle. Like
yeah,
literally, I'm one decision away from all of this being nothing.
yes,
And you know, the more you sort of open yourself up to that little voice that says there has to be more, um, the more it blossoms. And there is so much more, and there's just your world opens up.
yes.
And it's lovely. It's an amazing thing. I wish I had it earlier.
Oh, well, at least you didn't haven't started your practice doing it for 10 years, making all the mistakes I made. And then went, oh,
Oh,
so that's how you do it. Oh, okay.
but
So
those
we
mistakes
caught you
are
early.
because, but you see,
Might
those
not feel
mistakes
like
are
it, but
now,
we did.
yeah, those mistakes are now serving us, right? Because you see us make, it's like, you know, watching a child in a playground, you know what's going to happen. So you catch us, you know, and we're so grateful for that.
Oh,
And for me, because I'm a bit of a mix because I'm all about people and connecting and feeling, but also I need to see the numbers and I need to see the why, and I have to anchor into something substantial. And I think that's my fear still sort of there going, you have to still prove it to me. And
yeah,
you can give me, you know, you give me both. In everything you do, I actually see, I get the feeling, I get the why in terms of in my heart, but I also get the, okay, on paper, is this a good thing or not?
yeah,
So it's just a perspective, a shift in perspective. And you also have to make a mindset shift from being an employee to being a business owner
yes.
because the focus areas are so much different.
I love that. You do have to, you are creating your own safety net. Like you
Yeah.
say, you know, we're not relying on it. It takes an incredible amount of courage, you know, to do this and to be so on purpose that this is what you want to do and that this is the safety net. This is the future that you're trying to create for yourself.
Yeah.
And this is your life's work. This is why you've been put on the planet. This is not just going, oh, yeah, I want freedom and I want to be able to just
Yeah.
do my own thing and I don't want to report to a boss anymore. You know, there's a deep sense of purpose and grit that
Mm-hmm.
gets you up out of bed every morning, that makes you go, you know, you have to do some of the toughest work that you'll have ever done. And it has, you know, the only way you can do it, because for you to be able to persist with pricing and working through all those challenges that we all have, is that you can only do that if you know, you really see this work as why you've been put on the planet and to do your best work. This is why you've been put here. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you're a real inspiration for not just business owners and the clients you work with, but I think particularly for women in business and for particularly people who, you know, Australia is full of a lot of immigrants. A lot of people have
Mm-hmm.
moved here from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think that your ability to not only make the changes that you have, but to lead yourself and to create what you're trying to create is really inspirational, Mel. So for those who might be, you've given some tips already around not overthinking things. And so for, if there was anyone listening who's thinking, okay, they're inspired by your story, is there any other advice or tips you might have for them if they're thinking about going down this path of, or they're trying to work out how to grow and scale like you are?
I think for me, I would invest in a high level coach much earlier
That's
on
the
the
right answer.
yeah.
I haven't paid her to say that, by the way. Sorry, Mel.
Oh, maybe later. No, because mindset has such a big impact. And I was, it's like saying my kids are never going to be that naughty or my kids will never have an iPad. I had to eat my words because I was always like, oh, mindset, come on. Business is going to, if you give me enough business, my mindset takes care of itself. And it's the biggest load of nonsense. Like,
Yeah.
your mindset has to be right in order for you to take all these steps. And having a high level coach or a coach where you want to be and dream big. Don't hold yourself, keep yourself small. Literally, I have an exercise that I do with my clients, and it's the most out there, most fiercely amazing lifestyle you can imagine. you know, what does that look like? And then they say, oh, I drive a Toyota and I live in La La. And I'm like, no, that's not, imagine the biggest thing. And then who's playing in that area? And that's who you want to be around. Because those are the people that have done it, you know,
Yeah.
that's, it is more, yes, and I understand it because obviously finances it feeds into it, but you're buying time and you're buying lessons.
Yeah.
Um, and you just excel so much quicker when you're surrounded by the right people.
Yeah.
And you don't make costly mistakes,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, that, just do it quicker, go as big as you want to dream, and just do it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have those feelings even if you're playing with a smaller coach, you know.
Well,
So you
that's
might as well
right.
just do it.
And it takes longer, and you regret, you know, that you didn't
Absolutely.
go as the path that's already been worn. You know, why not go and tap into the expertise as
Yeah.
I have? That's what I've
Yeah.
interested in, is all the experts and people that have coached me. So it's not necessarily that I'm the guru and have you know, sure, I've learned lots of lessons and done things the hard way. There are certainly
Yeah.
ways to do some things, and but you're right, is the culmination of implementation, mentors, experience, all those things, and that goes for, you know, and for yourself as your clients, being able to bring that value to
Oh,
them so that
it's huge.
they can
It's
get that
huge.
outcome too. So Mel, for those who want to perhaps follow you or to connect with you, if they want to find out more about your journey, or to be able to learn about the work that you're doing in terms of your connected marketing and using you as a strategic marketer, where would you like people to follow you or reach out to you?
Sure. So the website is melissalithgow.com.au.
Yes.
LinkedIn is Melissa Lithgow, and
Mhm.
then Instagram also Melissa Lithgow.
All right, great.
I know
We'll
it's
pop the
confusing.
links. We'll pop the links in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're cheering you on and look
Oh,
forward
thank you, Jane.
to seeing you, you know, continue to scale. You're doing an awesome job.
Thank you. And I just thank you to you and everything that you do for your community. It's honestly, you just don't know the value that you add and the difference you make for people.
Oh, you're super kind. Thank you so much. You're easy to mentor. It's all about. I had a mentor once who said to me, the greatest compliment so this is they were mentoring me, and they said to me, the greatest compliment you could ever give your coach or your mentor is to implement what they ask you to do.
Mm,
And I've always believed that was, you know,
yeah.
and that's why, you know, I got so much extra help from them, and, you know, all the things
Yeah.
because of implementation. And I think, you know, there's no doubt about you with what you do, is that, you know, you just go, yep, okay, implement, done. What's next? So you
But it
make,
works.
yeah,
Yeah. So because it works and we believe in you. We have the trust in you. So yeah, it's a good relationship both ways.
it's good. And we have a lot of fun. So
Oh, so much.
thanks, Mel. Great to
Thank
have you
you,
on the
Jane.
show. I'll pop the show notes in. Make sure you reach out to Mel, at least follow what she's doing. She's got some cool stuff on her website and white papers and different things. So yeah, wishing you every success in the growth in your practice, Mel.
Thanks, Jane.